Hey, my friend.
What's up?
Not a lot.
Oh my God, you are staring at your beer.
I'm trying to figure out where the hell this place is.
Oh, okay.
Normally it says like pretty obvious where it's
Okay, so
from.
it's Blake's Hard Cider.
Yeah.
And then, but
It's
let me see if I can look it up on the
called
internet.
a peach party, and it's peach and blackberry. I don't know what I was expecting it to taste like, but it tastes so good. It says it's sweet peach and bold blackberry, but it's such a good blend. Like, it works so... I mean, I never would have thought peach and blackberries together would be good, but it is one of the best hard ciders I think I've ever had. It is really good.
Listen,
It's 6.5% for anyone who cares.
Listen, we're not even getting into, hey everybody, welcome to another week of Case Files with
Hi,
Kat.
everyone. Welcome to another week of Case Files
With Kat.
and Ashley.
Okay, did you not hear me say it the first time?
I just want to make sure everyone else heard it. It says cider with a story, blakeshardcider.com.
Yeah, I'm on there.
It says it's made with real fruit, gluten-free, contains alcohol.
Wow.
I'm almost done with the can, and we're only 1 second into the show. It really is so good.
I love it. So, I'm just, I got my Shiners. Actually, I got a double IPA. I accidentally got the wrong thing, but it's called Twin Dream Double IPA.
Oh.
Yeah, very cool can art per the usual with the lady with the
things coming out of her eyes.
Lightning or some shit. She's badass. Yeah.
Why can we not figure out where Blake's hard cider's from?
Michigan.
How cool is that? My story is about someone from Michigan.
What?
You didn't even know.
I didn't
what
know.
A weird tie-in. Like, it really is. So that's really cool.
Ooh, I just got the chills.
My can art is just a peach. This is peach party with blackberries all around it. It's
delicious, actually.
It's so good.
And I am not a hard cider connoisseur, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed it. Okay, bring the mic up.
I'm not even going to tell my story. I'm just going to drink this beer.
Tell you how good it is.
You can tell the story.
All right, take it away.
Oh, okay, guys. We're just diving right in today.
Oh no, I got nothing.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is, if you need help, seek help. There's help out there. You're not alone. Mental health moment.
So, as everyone knows, I'm obsessed with disappearances, guys. I'm sorry that I keep doing them, but I'm just obsessed with them. Because, like, where do these people go? How do they vanish? What led to their behavior? Like, so many of these stories when they're vanished, it's like really weird behavior all of a sudden, like really weird for that person, just like out of nowhere. Like, if they were murdered, how were the killers never caught? Killers love to brag about their kills. So, like, how has no one ever confessed to some of these? Like, I just have so many questions about people who disappear. So I'm constantly going down rabbit.
I don't know that I agree. I feel like...
Yeah, but, so there's so many killers that will confess to things they didn't even do just because they want that moment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. But I feel like there's some that are just like, no, I'm not copping to that one. You don't even know about that one. I'm not going to tell you about that one. I'm not going to add more years to my
All I can say is I am fascinated by them. I get down these rabbit holes. I have probably like 10,000 disappearance cases saved. Like, if I really do ever get investigated, they're going to be like, what is her problem? Like,
maybe you should become like an investigator.
I'm going to start using hidden browsers and VPNs and stuff because it's getting ridiculous. I watch so many podcasts.
How many? Okay, of the disappearances that you research, how many do you think are nefarious? Like that were murders? Majority.
Because when I do, like, so for example, when I go and I look at follow-ups from shows like Vanished, Disappeared, Gone Without a Trace, like those types of shows.
Right.
Almost all of them were found murdered.
Dateline.
Yeah. Like, very few of them went missing and were found later alive. Some of, like, there was this one woman that disappeared and she was gone for like 20 years and they finally found her and she claimed she left because of a domestic, like, she left her kids and everything. Her husband or kids, because she said her husband was abusing her, but she left her kids. So, like, why did she, like, she had a whole nother family. Like she had another husband and another kid, all this. So there's very few of those cases.
That poor family, like the kids.
Yeah.
If the husband was abusive.
Like I totally understand leaving.
100%.
But to just leave your kids and never talk to them again and then go start this other family. I don't know how she got found. I just know that she was. But anyways, very few of those cases.
Yes. Okay.
Very few people just walk away and start their lives over.
Aliens.
Without telling anybody. Most of them are either never found or they're found murdered.
Wow.
So anyways, well, that was my little spiel about why I love disappearances. Not that any of you care. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about Jacob Cabinaw. So Jacob was born October 6th, 1978 in Traverse City, Michigan. He was one of 10 children.
Michigan?
He was one of 10 children and was a member of the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. If I said that wrong, I'm really, really sorry.
Sounded right.
At the time of his disappearance, he was 31, 6'2", and weighed roughly 145 pounds. He has brown eyes.
He was thin.
He was tall and skinny. Like he was tall and skinny, for sure.
He was 6'1"?
6'2".
6'2".
And weighed 145
pounds.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So he has brown eyes and brown hair, and he was last seen wearing gray work pants, white or orange t-shirt, a gray Dave's Garage jacket, which is where he worked, and brown work boots. Okay?
And what year was this?
This was, I'll talk about it in a minute, but he disappeared in 2010.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Jake, he goes by Jacob or Jake, but Jake and his girlfriend Rachel had gotten married right out of high school, and the couple went on to have 2 sons together. He was a very devoted father. It was said that he was so devoted because his own father was often absent and while he was growing up, and he just didn't want that for his own children. So he was very involved in their life. That's an important thing to remember. He was very hands-on. He was all about being a good father, if nothing else. Like, he wanted to be there for his children. Now, him and Rachel did get divorced in 2008, but they were on very good terms. They were still friends. He was still very involved in his children's life. They just were better as friends. So when they divorced, he moved in with his mother. So at the time of his disappearance in 2010, Jake was living at his mother's home. Okay. So anyways, Jake worked as a master mechanic at Dave's Garage. It was one of the top repair shops in town. He was very happy there. He was also a member of the National Guard. So in addition to these responsibilities, he was a technical science student at Northwestern Michigan College.
Wow.
And he was just 3 weeks shy of graduating when he went missing.
Oh my gosh.
So he loved
lots of reasons why he wouldn't have opted for disappearing on his own. Is that okay?
And so he loved helping people, and he even considered pursuing a career in nursing because he wanted to help people so much. Like, when they described him as you know, when people go missing, there was like, he was the light of the room, or light up the room, and he was so caring and this and that. And you're like, was he really? Jake really seemed to be that guy. Wow. He helped everyone he could. He worked really hard. He was in the National Guard. He was going to school. He was taking care of his family. Like, he didn't do drugs. He didn't really drink. Like, he was just a good
amazing man.
So on March 31st, 2010, after finishing work at Dave's Garage, he joined some friends at Hickory Hills to play Frisbee golf. Afterwards, he was invited by his friend and playing partner Gary Wittig to go to a party. However, Jacob declined, saying he had to go home and study. So around 7:30, he dropped Gary off at like this little parking lot across from the beach volleyball courts called Open Area City Park. This was the last time anyone physically saw Jacob alive. Now, there was some video footage I'll talk about later, but as far as physically someone seeing him who knew him, this was the last time. He dropped his friend off at 7:30. It was confirmed that was the last time. So Jacob's family knew immediately that something was not right. When he didn't come home, they knew. Because, again, after the divorce with Rachel, he was living with his mother, and he would never not come home and not call her to let her know that he was staying somewhere or going to be late or whatever. So
What a dependable person. Like, if I didn't come home, I wonder, and not that I'm not dependable. I mean, I show up at work every day or whatever, but how long would it take for someone to go, you know what? She's not here yet. And that's not.
I feel like people would get mad at me for not showing up before they would ever get worried about me. You know what I mean?
100%. 100. That's it. So I'd be like, damn it, where's Kat? God, like,
why is she not answering her fucking phone?
Right.
We have a podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Like, what the hell?
But to be fair, when you didn't answer and you guys were on that plane, I did call and freak out because I thought you were missing. Anyways, she was worried. So in an interview, one of his 9 siblings named Sister Sandra Cranston stated, "It was not like Jacob to not call. This was totally out of character from him. So we started calling everyone from friends to the police." Now, initially, as in most adult cases, the sheriff's
will say he's an adult.
The sheriff's department didn't investigate since Jacob was an adult and there was no evidence of foul play. They told Jacob's mother that they couldn't file a missing persons report for at least a week.
What?
And so...
What? Yeah. Is that normal?
I don't know. They told him that would have to be at least a week because as an adult, you're free to come and go unless there's signs of foul play. There has to be something that they can see. So up until that point, all that Jake's family could do was try to get in contact with him. However, these calls were unanswered and always went straight to voicemail. So, at some point, I guess that his mother or maybe his dad, one of them had access to his bank account. Mm-hmm. And so when Jacob's debit card had been declined for insufficient funds, his parents took this bank statement to the police, and then they finally agreed to get involved because his parents were like, there's no way he would be this irresponsible to let his bank account get this low, and like, why would he be making charges and not let us know where he is? Like, someone else has his debit card. It's basically...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Detective Jason Paulson stated he loved his kids. He was a family-oriented person, and not one to just up and take off. That's what ultimately got the law enforcement involved in a police report going a few days later. So this is kind of the timeline of the debit charges on the card.
Like,
and
what were they for?
They were at gas stations.
Oh.
So mind you, he lives in Michigan. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Uh-huh. So around 9 p.m., his debit card was used for a $5 purchase in Buckley, Michigan. The clerk there did not remember him when questioned by the police.
Oh.
At 1 a.m. on April 1st, he made his monthly call to the automated system for the National Guard to confirm he was still taking classes. He was receiving financial aid for schooling from the National Guard, and so this call-in was required at the beginning of every month to confirm that he was still a student. So on this journey that he's currently, because he's in a different city from where he lives, okay? He lives in Traverse City. He's in Buckley, Michigan, which is not that far from where he lives, but still a different city. He makes this call to make sure he checks in. So that would lead to believe he was coming back, right? Like, why would someone...
So now it also leads you to believe that was really him.
Right. And so...
So that was him. That $5 charge was him.
So the $5 charge at 9 p.m. was him. The 1 a.m. phone call was him. But the 1 a.m. phone call pinged off a tower near Oklahoma.
What?
Yeah. And so...
So that would have to be him, though.
So... As we go on, it was kind of
confusing. Everybody's going to try to solve this as you go. So I'm.
So what was confusing was there were so many articles that said the ping was off of Oklahoma, off a tower in Oklahoma, which there is some evidence that he did go to Oklahoma. But then other stories say that particular phone call pinged off a tower in another part of Michigan. So
yeah, but that's the other thing. You
Michigan
can't get to Michigan. You can't get from Michigan to Oklahoma in 4 hours.
Right. So I'm going to say that it was actually pinged in Michigan.
Okay.
But he did go to Oklahoma, which I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe that's why some of the stories got confused. Okay. But it was from really reputable sources. So I don't know where the wires got mixed on where the call actually pinged from. But either way, it was him that called, and that was the last phone call that he made. His phone was never used again from that point. So, again, he had to make those phone calls. At 2 a.m., An hour after the phone call, he used his debit card again to buy gas in Matawan, Michigan. And in the video from the gas station, he was still wearing his work clothes. He was alone. He was showing no outward signs of distress, and no one was following him. So it wasn't like he was being kidnapped. Someone was forcing him on this random road trip at night.
How far away from Traverse City is he at this point?
Let me see.
If you don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like an hour. Is he close? Is he close enough to go home that night? Is he? Because that seems bizarre.
Yeah.
If he's not home. And
so from Traverse City to Matawan, it is 200 miles,
Whoa.
3 hours and 12 minutes.
Whoa. So he was going somewhere.
He was on a mission somewhere.
To go do something.
Right. So just after midnight on April 2nd, this is the day, like basically 2 days later, like March 31st was the last day he was seen.
Okay.
April 1st was when he was at the gas station making the purchase.
And we have video of him there.
So just after midnight on April 2nd, a police officer in Hollister, Missouri, ran his license plate, and it was determined that he hadn't actually pulled Jacob over. He was just doing a routine check on an out-of-state license plate because they tend to do that when you're passing through the highway, I guess, like to see if you had a warrant or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he didn't pull him over, so he didn't talk to him, but it was confirmed that, okay, well, at some point he was going through Missouri. Another deputy with the Washington State Sheriff's Department in Arkansas ran the plate 3 hours later and noted that Jacob was asleep in his car, which was parked in the Brentwood rest area off of US 71 in West Fork. The police officer confirmed later
Arkansas?
that Jacob was the only person in the car.
He recognized him, though? He was alive?
Yes. Well, he ran the plate, and it came up as Jacob. He asked for his license. Like, he confronted him because there are, in some rest areas, you're not allowed to sleep. Like, you can stop and use the restroom, but you're not allowed to sleep. So he had tapped on the window, got his driver's license. It was and when he saw pictures later, he says, yes, that was the man that was in the vehicle, and he was the only one in the vehicle. So this man has gone from Michigan to Missouri to Arkansas now. Jacob's debit card.
I mean,
he was boogieing. Like, he was nonstop driving.
Through Indiana, through Illinois, through... I mean, geez, maybe Ohio. Yeah, Ohio. Okay, go ahead.
So Jacob's card was then used at a gas station in Fort Worth the next day.
Stop it.
For $30. Right. A few hours later.
And he has not called his family.
Right. No one has been able to get a hold of him at this point. When they call him, it goes straight to voicemail.
So okay, hold on. He is not missing. He has chosen to, at this point, he has chosen to disappear.
Yes.
This is weird.
Right.
Okay. Because, I mean, I just want to make sure I'm hearing you.
At this point, he's still alive.
He's alive. He's by himself.
But this is the last time they can confirm he's alive.
Holy shit.
The next time. So
he's going to Mexico, dude.
Jacob's debit card was then used at a gas station in Fort Worth the next day for $30. Just a few hours later.
This is April 3rd, 4th.
3rd.
Okay.
A few hours later, his card was used again for $30 at a gas station in Sweetwater, Texas, but the video doesn't show who made the purchase. Sweetwater is over 1,400 miles from Michigan. So in this short amount of time, he has traveled 14. Now, I know it's possible because I've driven from here to North Carolina in 2 days, but that is like nonstop, no sleep. Maybe stopping at a rest area every now and then, right? He has gone 1,400 miles from his home. This was the last time his car was used. However, in the Sweetwater gas station video, the video is a little bit grainy. It's not as clear as the other ones, but the family nor the investigators could positively ID the man using the car was Jacob because
it's not that far from Fort Worth.
Yeah, right. That was another thing. Like, why would he already be stopping for more gas? So... Yeah. that didn't make sense to the family either. Like, he just got gas. Why would he stop to refill his car again? In the other videos, his car, which was a silver Chevy Malibu, was in the videos. In this, they didn't see
Sweetwater.
Right. They didn't necessarily see the car. And the man that they saw that was using his debit card, his family said that was not him. They didn't believe it was him. They said he was dressed in different clothing that would not be something that Jacob would wear. He was wearing like khaki shorts or something, and like he would never be wearing that. And he had been wearing his work clothes.
Well, he would have changed.
Yeah, but he would have had to buy clothes, and he didn't buy clothes anywhere. He'd only been stopping at gas stations. And then they said, and he was shorter than 6'2". Jacob was 6'2". There's no way.
Thin.
Yeah. And this guy was bigger, like weight wise.
Yeah.
Shorter, bigger, and in different clothes. So it was not Jacob.
So somewhere
it says he was wearing cargo shorts, which I have never seen my brother wear cargo shorts. They're baggy and sloppy, and that's not the way he dressed. And so the clothes didn't match what he'd be wearing last. If he had to buy gas, then he wouldn't have had money for clothes. That was always a question, so I'm not convinced it was him, said Sandra. So actually,
he was about to run out of money.
He actually didn't have any money. It said he had insufficient funds in his bank account to pay for these gas purchases.
Oh.
However, the transactions had gone through because he had overdraft coverage.
Oh.
His debit card was never used after Sweetwater because it was declined at Sweetwater.
Okay.
And that's what originally set off his mom to go to the police department and be like, look, here's all these transactions that went through, but he didn't have money for, and this is where it was declined. And that's how they traced him to Sweetwater, where they saw this video of a person that wasn't him, even though every other transaction had been him, and these police officers verified it was him. So again, just as a reminder, he was a student. He was 3 weeks away from graduating. He was a member of the National Guard. He had this amazing job. He had these kids. He had family. He had owned $20,000 worth of his own tools for this mechanic shop. Like, he wanted to be a mechanic, right? Like, he had all of this investment. So investigators began to wonder, what the fuck is happening, right? Like, he wouldn't just walk away. This does not sound like him. But then who is this random man?
But who's in Fort Worth? What was happening? Why was he even there in the first place?
So we'll talk about that.
I have so many questions.
So the investigators began to wonder if it was possible that he, for whatever reason, decided to walk away from his life and start over in Mexico. However, it's worth noting that he didn't speak Spanish. He didn't have a passport. There was no record of Jacob ever entering Mexico. And this makes a piece of information that the police find later really disturbing. And I'll talk about that piece of information later on. But Gary, his friend that was playing with him, like golf with him that night and was the last person to see him, when interviewed, was completely baffled by this disappearance. He said that at their game, the conversation was casual and that he had no indication that there was any sort of trouble with Jacob. He said that Jake was in great spirits that day. He didn't seem, he didn't seem upset at all, and he never mentioned that he was having any problems. For Jake to just up and leave is totally not like him. For him not to say anything to anyone just makes no sense. He has 2 sons that he adores. I just can't believe he would leave them behind. And his sister Sandra.
But that was him on those other videos.
Up until Sweetwater, yes.
Okay.
So Jacob's sister agreed with this thing. Jacob's father was in and out of our lives. He grew up without his father. He was so committed to his sons. And after what he went through growing up, he vowed to always be there for his boys. I can't believe that he would do this on his own. So again, Jacob and Rachel had divorced on good terms. He was not behind on child support, which is a reason sometimes men disappear. Mm-hmm. They were not in any kind of legal battle. There was no custody battle. They shared, like, he was allowed to see them whenever he wanted. He was very involved in their lives. There was nothing to that effect. Matter of fact, he was on Rachel's phone plan. Like, she was paying for his cell phone. So they were very close. So Rachel, Jacob's ex-wife, has been very helpful through the process. She had a cell phone in her name, so she was able to get us all of the bills. So we reviewed every call he made in the past year, and not one of them was to Texas. There were no text messages and no phone calls to anyone in Texas. There was a mention that at the time that he disappeared, they were trying to get access to his emails. And in all of the updates I saw, because the case is still kind of open, like in 2022 and in 2023, they basically didn't say what was in the emails, but there was nothing that would lead them to believe that he had any connection. He hadn't made contact with someone in Texas. So this made it all...
Or Mexico,
right.
Or California, or anywhere.
Yeah, so this made it all that much weirder. Equally baffled, again, were his friends and family that Jacob showed no signs of a person who had his back up against a wall. His sister stated on Sunday, he was at my house working on a school paper. Why would someone who is planning on leaving do a paper for school? There are other things that just don't make sense. Like, how did he get to Texas without money? He didn't pack a bag. He didn't take anything with him. He didn't even take a phone charger. It just doesn't add up. So Jacob...
It was him. It was him driving.
Right. It was his car. So Jacob's best friend at the time, Ken Behringer, was interviewed and said, I have known Jake for 10 years, and this is not the Jake I know. We spoke almost every day. My family loved him. Jake was always smiling, never seemed stressed. If he had problems, he would have told me. He was in the National Guard. He was a great soldier. He was going to college. He was a hard worker. Plus, he talked about his sons all the time and was so involved in their lives.
So where was he going?
When police asked Ken why Jacob may have gone to Texas, Ken stated he had no idea. He never spoke about Texas, and the only connection he has to Texas is that his brother had been stationed in Fort Hood in the past. His brother was no longer stationed at Fort Hood. Jake never mentioned any friends down there. I couldn't think of any reason why he would make a spur-of-the-moment decision to go down there and not tell anyone. So he had no friends there, no family there, nothing. Like, no one could figure out why he would go down there. So there have been a lot of speculation from different people, but there's no concrete theories. One theory is that Jacob might have been concerned about being in trouble with the National Guard for his actions on March 31st, the day he went missing, because allegedly Gary says that he admitted to the sheriff's department that he and Jacob had smoked marijuana that day, and the speculation is that Jacob might have possibly been concerned that he would be drug tested and kicked out. However, Sandra, his sister, says, first of all, that's alleged. I can't see Jacob doing that, but we spoke to Jacob's commanding officer last week and were told that Jacob was a model soldier and had never been in trouble. So if Jacob did smoke some pot, I doubt that he would have split town, turned on his family, his sons, his employer, the guard, and school to essentially work for cash under the table somewhere for the rest of his life. So that was ruled out pretty quickly. Like, they said that would be very extreme. Everyone agreed but Gary that would be super extreme for him to, like, split town over smoking weed, right? Like,
see ya, I guess.
Yeah, right. So some have speculated that maybe Gary, the friend that he had spent time with that night, might know more than what he's saying. Strangely, he went quiet for a few days himself right after the time Jake disappeared. He explained this disappearance by saying that he had met someone the night of March 31st and went out partying with them, and that his phone battery had died, preventing him from texting anyone back for a while. He's never officially been named as a person of interest in Jake's case, but can I just say, he dropped you off at the volleyball court and you were already going to a party, but then you met someone else to go to a different party. Who is this person? Why? None of these articles ever named who this person was, so I don't know if that person ever came forward to, like, back him up or whatever. But, like, your phone was dead for days. Like, what kind of fucking party was that? Like, you're not in high school anymore. I mean, I don't know. You're not in college. You're not in high school. Like, you're a grown adult. Like, who parties for days with a dead cell phone and doesn't respond to a good friend of theirs missing? I just find that super strange. Because, like, him and Gary were, like, partner. They played, like, professional Frisbee golf together. Like, they were good friends, right? So, like, I find it strange you wouldn't. That'd be like if Jason messaged me that you were missing. I'm like, oh. Like,
what'd you do to her?
I know, right? Like, that's weird. Why would you not be concerned about your friend missing? So, anyways, again, he's never been listed as an official person of interest, though. I feel like Gary's a pretty suspicious name. Interestingly, Jake made a 57-mile detour to Ardmore while in Oklahoma for unknown reasons before once again heading in the direction of Texas. So, and that's been confirmed that he was the one in Oklahoma, came back to Texas. Though Jake had never had problems with drugs, as far as anyone knew, law enforcement and his family speculated that maybe someone had approached him with a means to quickly make some extra cash, possibly by picking up or transporting illegal narcotics.
However, was so cute.
Oh, you're looking at him? Yeah. Doesn't he look so young?
He looks so young.
But they say, however, there was nothing ever found to support this theory. So, Jake was never seen or heard from again after his car was used in Sweetwater. 7 years later, in 2017, okay, you remember I said that because he didn't go to Mexico, they would later find something that was disturbing?
Yeah.
So 7 years later, 2017, investigators received new information that had chilling implications. They were alerted by the National Insurance Crime Bureau that the VIN number of Jacob's Chevy Malibu was flagged in Mexico. Ooh. They were told that the car was in a scrapyard. No one knows how his car ended up there. And had he been there with it, or was the vehicle brought there by someone else? They don't know. There was no record of how the car got there, who dropped it off, where it was picked up from. Jacob has never been seen from, never been heard from. There is no record of him receiving a paycheck. His phone is never turned back on. His debit card he's never made contact. So we love Jake, and we need him to come home, said his mother. Rachel, his ex-wife, stated, "I'm sad for the children, especially. I hope he does return. They talk about it a considerable amount. Xander is in therapy right now, but they're pretty resilient kids too. They're doing well in school and things, but I know they miss their father." And then Sandra said, "I don't believe he was planning on being gone for an extended period of time at all," she said in an Unsolved Mysteries interview in 2023. "He had every intention of coming back. That's my belief. It is out of his character just to pick up and go somewhere, to leave without letting anyone know, especially my mother, because, we respect my mom. He was very hands-on and very present, and he would not have abandoned his children. I do think he's dead, because if he were alive, he would be home." So there were some other odd developments over the years, because, again, this case is still open. So he disappeared in 2010. His car appeared in 2017. But in August of 2013, 3 years after he disappeared, Rachel alerted authorities that $1,500 had appeared in her bank account from Friend of the Court, which is a service of family court. When it was investigated, it was determined that before he disappeared, Jacob had been participating in the Army National Guard Thrift Savings Plan, which is a military retirement plan, and the money had been sent from them. There was hope that Jacob may have directed the payment himself, meaning that he would still be alive somewhere, but there was never a connection made to him. So she didn't know about this money. She didn't know it was coming. It just randomly showed up 3 years later. In May of 2014, police were notified that a 2013 Michigan tax return had been filed using Jacob's name. Local police informed the FBI, whose investigation revealed that the return was a fraudulent filing and had been run through a series of shell real estate companies, which is still pretty weird because what the fuck? Why would they pick?
That is so weird.
Why would they pick a missing person? You know what I mean?
Especially so recently missing, not like
and it's a pretty unique name.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah. So over the years, the Cabinaw
It's Cabinaw, Cabinaw, not
Yeah.
Kavanaugh. And
Right.
so that's why it's unique. Yeah.
Yeah. So over the years, the Cabinaw family noticed a classified ad in the local's papers, lost and found section that had been constantly running since Jacob went missing. It read, "Missing Jacob Cabinaw, last seen 3/31/2010. Forever in our hearts, always looking for answers." Originally, they didn't know who was running this ad, but Jacob's sister Sandra thought maybe they were doing it as a public service. And when it stopped appearing, she contacted their offices to find out what had happened. It turns out the ad had actually been placed every week throughout the years by an ex-girlfriend of Jay Cabinaw, Jacob's brother. She had been in the hospital and was unable to renew the ad, which is why it had stopped running. According to Sandra, she explained that the woman had been keeping up with the weekly placement because their family had taken her in for a while 20 years ago. Aww. We really meant a lot to her, and she wanted to do something for us without us knowing that she was paying for it.
Oh.
There have been no further developments in the case.
Damn.
Sandra spoke about the heart-wrenching difficulty of being left with no answers. It's just that not knowing that just is a cancer and it eats at you.
It's just poor babies too.
It's just the hardest part. We just hold on to hope that we'll hear something, but every day it gets harder. So if for whatever reason you have any information about Jacob's disappearance, the case is still open. And they ask that you call the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Department or send an email to them or contact unsolved.com. And all of that will be in the show notes. But to this day, the case is open. He's still missing. And they like I said, they found his car, but they have no other information of like where he is, what happened to him. Is he alive? Is he dead? Though they do pretty much all believe that he's dead. Like I said, and the police reopened his case in 2022. And so they're asking for help because again, why would he suddenly leave his family? Why would he leave his home? Why would he leave his kids? Where was he going? Why did he, what happened when he got to Texas? Because up till Texas, it was him. What was he doing there in the first place? So, everyone is in agreement that this is just bizarre. And unfortunately, we may never know what happened to him. So, and
really, he is a tall, skinny man.
Very tall, very skinny.
Seeing a short, stockier dude,
right?
And he wore tight-fitting clothing.
Yeah, and that was the first time that man was seen on camera, and that was when the car was declined.
Right,
and it's never been. There was no other attempts, and the car was never seen on any other footage, nor was Jacob.
Yeah, and you can tell he is not the kind of dude who would have worn cargo shorts.
Yeah.
He wore very not tight fitting, but very flattering, he dressed appropriately for his body shape.
Yeah.
So I think baggy shorts would have looked kind of silly on him.
Yeah.
Because he was so thin.
So like I said, the car he drove was a silver 2002 Chevy Malibu. And that was and his original license plate was found in Mexico. Like it was still on the car. So it's not like someone stole it, changed the license plate. So, and that was 7 years later. So somebody had this car somewhere, or maybe it took that long for them to run the VIN number, but.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I hope the family can get some closure. I really do feel sorry for the kiddos though.
Yeah. So that's what I have.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I have a crazy but short story for next week. You're welcome. Not another hour and a half.
You say that, but then we're going to get there and it's going to be 2 hours long. It's okay. Mine are short, so it's okay that you're
we even each other out. I'm sorry. Okay. It's hard for me to cut out things. This is my problem in Toastmasters too. I can never keep my speeches short. I always go over time.
Well, you know, I try to do at least 30, 45 minutes, but this story, like, it was cut. It was so straight, like.
Yeah. But it's a really interesting because he did leave.
And there's
why?
And there's a distinct, like, it's a breakdown of the timeline. There's a website, like a news that breaks it down by the time, where he was, when he was on video, his card, what it was charged, what he bought.
It was him. And that's the weird part, because nobody knew he was taking a long ass drive. Yeah. Why didn't he tell anybody? And he didn't pack clothes, and he didn't pack a charger. He didn't have money in his account. He left. Yeah. He left. So at some point it wasn't him leaving anymore, or he just was like, he bounced and left everything.
And he was doing normal things before he left. He was working on a school paper.
He was
hanging out with his friends, playing disc golf. Like, it wasn't like he was.
I would want to look through his phone. Like, I feel like I would want to be sleuthing
Well,
his
they
phone.
looked through. They looked through all of his text messages. They looked through his call records. So unless he had a burner phone that no one knew about, which is possible, there was no connection to anyone in Oklahoma or Texas, or Mexico. So that's where his one theory of that he was, for whatever reason, delivering drugs or picking up drugs. But then, like, how? Yeah,
he went from smoking pot to being a mule. Like, that's weird.
Right. They thought, well, maybe he was trying to make extra cash. But they're like, why wouldn't he just ask family? Like, he was working this great job, so that's weird that he would accept that. But then they're like, why would he, like?
It's weird. All of it's really weird. Yeah.
And they said, well, maybe his brother was still at Fort Hood, but he wasn't at Fort Hood anymore. He was back home. So, like, it was just.
And then Gary.
And they never explained, like, how they ruled Gary out. But I feel like that's sus. Like,
Gary, we're not saying you're sus, but you're sus.
You're gone for the same amount of time that he was on camera. Like,
but he wasn't with. He wasn't with him.
I know, but. How was Gary not involved?
So was Gary? I guess that was the last. Yes, so he was the last person.
The last person who saw him, and then he conveniently disappeared for like 3 days because he claimed he went to a party and his phone died, and he didn't.
3 days.
Yeah.
What kind of drugs was he doing? I've never been to that kind of party. 3 days.
Not when I was in my fucking 30s. I can't survive. I would die. And not to have a phone for 3 days? Are you kidding me?
Not even in my 20s, though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so I don't know what happened to Gary. I don't know where he is, if he's alive or whatever. There was nothing else about him, but they did say he wasn't a suspect. There are no suspects. There are no good working theories. There is no evidence of really foul play except for the guy that was in the last video. And then his car being found in Mexico. But again, they can't really say that's foul play because they don't know how it got there. He could have taken it himself. So, just saying.
All right, everybody. Well, next week we will be back. I will have a short but kind of a crazy and entertaining story.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. I remember the story from way back when, so I thought I'd bring it back. It's not a very well-known story, so
okay.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. If you're not from Texas, you wouldn't know that.
I'm pretty sure my next 2 stories will also be disappearances, but we'll see. We'll see how crazy it gets.
All right, everybody. Until next week, reach out if you need us for anything, resources. We are here for you. You are not alone. And we will see you then. Bye.